Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, and today I'd like to share some of my favorite programs from podcasts because some of those who've seen my previous videos, I'm sure you guys know that I like using podcasts for my English study. I've been using them for many years now, maybe 2 or 3 years, so I'd like to share my all-time favorites. Hope you guys enjoy it. Anyways, so I will share one by one, and the first podcast will be BBC Global News Podcast. This one is very famous, so maybe some of you guys have already tried it before, but it's updated every day and covers news from all over the world. And the great thing is that you can hear voices from local reporters, so it's not just British English, and you get to practice listening to all sorts of accents. They cover about 5-6 stories in 30 minutes, and each one is usually around 5-10 minutes long. So it's perfect if you want to listen in your spare time bit by bit. The first story that's always covered is always something super relevant and hot at the time, like Ukraine war, the Middle East situation, and recently the US presidential election and the Trump administration. So you can catch up all the global headlines. It's kind of like Japan's NHK, so the English is really clear and accurate as well. And the second one I like to share is the BBC Hard Talk. This one is also from BBC, so you know the English is reliable. It's an interview-based show where they dig deep into various topics with different people. As the title suggests, they get into some pretty tough questions too during the interview, and sometimes the conversation gets pretty heated, which makes it feel real and engaging. It's a great show for practicing listening to the real-life conversations. And what's interesting is that they often interview people who represent groups or organizations that are criticized in the Western media. So you get to hear perspectives that you might not come across in Japanese news. This is great for expanding your knowledge, and sometimes I find myself really having to focus to follow the logic because the way they think and explain things isn't always something I'm used to. So it's a great way to check if your listening is up to par. The interview speaks in British accent, so it's good for checking your progress with that accent too. The people being interviewed come from all over the world, so you hear all kinds of accents. Even if you're good with American or British accents, some of the accents can be tough, but it's a great challenge if you're up for it. And I'm not sure if they have scripts, but I feel like they're speaking off the cuff, which makes it feel more like a real conversation. It's not like reading from a script, so it's great for practicing real-life listening skills. The next one is from the Goldman Sachs. I actually have 2 shows. The first one is The Market. This one is all about finance, especially the stock market. So if you're not into finance, this one can be super tough. I'm not a pro either, and I don't follow stock trading or corporate data every day, so it's definitely hard for me. But if you can get through it, you'll learn a lot about how world events affect stock prices and the global market. The good thing is they post a script on their website, so it's a great resource for reading as well. The show is in fast American English usually, and sometimes you get people with a strong Chinese or Indian accent, which can be really, really challenging. But it's a good mental workout if you're ready to take on something tough. So the next show would be The Exchange. This is also from Goldman Sachs, but it's more about broader economy, not just the stock market. It's usually around 20 minutes long, so you get more detailed analysis and commentary. Even though the level is still high, if you're used to covering different topics in Japanese news, it might feel more familiar. Plus, you can learn a lot about macroeconomics and business-related vocabulary, which could come in handy if you're ever in a situation where you need to talk about economy in English, like those business meetings. It's mainly American English, and the pace is fast, but like the other show, they provide a script, so you can really dive into it and take your time if needed. Okay, And there's also one more podcast channel that I really like, which I found quite recently, and it is Hot Girl Energy. This one is totally different vibe. It's not about business, more like self-improvement. A woman who lives in Canada talks about lifestyle, motivation, and personal growth. The episodes are about 30 minutes, and the Canadian English isn't too hard to understand, plus the pace isn't super fast. It's a good one for practicing listening to natural conversation because she speaks like she's just chatting, and the tone is really real and engaging. It's perfect for learning expressions that young women in their 20s and 30s use in daily life, and you get a feel for casual, everyday English. I also find the content super inspiring. I'm always trying to improve my routine and stay motivated, so listening to her helps me find new ways to make my daily life better. So if you want a break from business topics and just want something uplifting, I highly recommend it. Okay, so that would be 5 shows that I highly recommend from podcasts for English study. And lastly, I like to explain how I study using these podcasts. And I mostly use podcasts for shadowing exercises, usually about 10 minutes at a time. I try to do it every day with different shows, and I found that my ears are getting more accustomed to the different accent and speed, so I just keep going at it. For Hot Girl Energy, I listen while I'm walking because the content is lighter. The great thing about all these podcasts is that they offer scripts on the app, so you can use them for both shadowing and reading practice. I definitely recommend trying them out. Well, that's it. And if you have any other podcast recommendations, please let me know. Please leave some below in the comments. And if you have any other questions or any requests for some of my next videos, please leave some in the comments as well. So anyway, that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. See you next time.